Where where are we today? It's Southern Africa! They are all members of the SACU, Southern Africans Customs Union, which by the way is the oldest customs union in the world. English is an official or co-official language in each of these countries. However, each country also does have their own majority native demographic whose mother tongue is also used as a lingua franca for their communities. Let's highlight all the countries, shall we? First off, Namibia. Photographers gush over this place because it has disputably the most beautiful sandscapes on earth with like an orangey amber color. It's also famous for the skeleton coast where these massive huge sand cliffs just converge with the sea and a ton of ships used to crash there. They were also one of the few former German colonies in Africa, and German services are still available here, like a radio station and a newspaper. And speaking of the Germans are the reason why Namibia has this strange skinny little salient that goes out into the middle of nowhere. It touches the Zambezi River. The reason is because the Germans wanted access to the Indian Ocean, so they made a deal with the British, but the British didn't tell them the secret that they wouldn't be able to make it. Next up, Botswana, the Kalahari desert country, which has a little bit more moisture. And if you zoom in really close up here, they have the Okavango Delta, one of the largest inland deltas in the world. It's a UNESCO site. And it's crazy because every year it brings like an annual flood cycle that brings in extreme biodiversity, and all the animals here have to learn how to swim, even the ostriches. They're also famous for mining minerals and precious stones. Here's the president holding the second largest diamond ever found that was mined in his country. And the famous Khoisan peoples originated here. You know them for their languages that have the click sounds, the and next up, Lesotho, which is completely enclaved within the country of South Africa. They are a monarchy led by a king and the queen mother. That's the king's mother. So the king's wife will never be a queen until she expectedly outlives him, and then she sits alongside the throne with her son. That's how it works out here. Lesotho is kind of like the refrigerator of Southern Africa because most of them live up in the high mountains where it snows a lot. They even have one of the few ski resorts in all of Southern Africa. And many of their cultural elements, like the Basotho blankets, were used for inspiration, especially for the Jabari tribe in Wakanda for Black Panther. Next up, this little guy, Eswatini, formerly known as Swaziland, not completely enclaved in South Africa. It has a border with Mozambique. Basically, these guys are the cousins of the Zulus in South Africa. They can understand each other's languages mostly. The biggest difference was that these guys were more like pacifist and diplomatic, whereas the Zulus were like, let's go to war and expand our territories. They're also a monarchy. They follow the same system as Lesotho, the king and the queen mother thing. And they are famous for the umhlanga, or reed dance, where unmarried women perform for the queen mother. And finally, South Africa, the big guy that holds all of this together. South Africa has such a complicated colonial history because it was like under the Dutch, but then the British came in and fought the Dutch, and then the native Africans were like, okay, a bunch of random ass white people fighting each other in Africa. Okay. Anyway, that's why Afrikaans is the most widely spoken European-based language in the country. It's basically Dutch, but like heavily Africanized. Anyway, South Africa is home to a myriad of extremely complex cultures, tribes, and ethnic groups, and today there are over 20 main non-constituent monarchs and paramount chiefdoms within the country. About 10% of their population is white, and their colored community, that's right, colored is a word here that does not have racist undertones, they have the largest racial genetic admixture on Earth.